what does it mean to be spiritual? Because we have all these ideas. To be spiritual, you have to read all the right books, you have to know all of the terminology, the lingo, you have to act a certain way, dress a certain way. There's a whole lifestyle, a whole culture that we call spiritual, and you're either a part of that culture or you're not, right? So there's even this exclusivity about it, this duality between who is spiritual and who isn't. And what's funny is that so many of the things that we think make us spiritual are actually very materialistic, because you have to buy all these things. You have to set up an altar and decorate it with all these material objects. You have to buy the right clothes, the right jewelry. You have to go to all the popular events and festivals. You have to do yoga and all this sort of thing. And this is all external. Even reading books and all that kind of thing is for the intellect, to fill the mind with concepts and beliefs, which are just thoughts and theories in essence. So if that's the way to be spiritual, anyone with a little money can buy that lifestyle, can become a part of that culture. And with a lot of money, you could appear to be very spiritually advanced. Of course, you also have to learn how to walk the walk and talk the talk, but that's easy, you just imitate. So all this outward display of spirituality is really meaningless. It really says nothing at all about whether or not you're actually spiritual. So what does it really mean to be spiritual? Who or what we are ultimately is not this physical body. It's not even the thoughts we have, our beliefs, our concepts, our identifications, but who we are at the very core of our being, beneath and beyond all of that. The essence of who we are is what we've called for a long time spirit. These days we might use a more modern scientific term, consciousness, but it's really the same thing. So spiritual is not something you can become, because it's who you already are. It's who everyone already is. Everyone is spiritual. So all this putting on pretenses, dressing a certain way, acting a certain way in order to become spiritual is kind of a delusion. To think that you can become what you already are is delusional. Not to say you can't speak that way or act that way or dress that way, you can't do those practices, but if you're doing all of that because you think that somehow it's going to make you spiritual, then you're really deluding yourself. Now, to call oneself spiritual, to use that term, that label, can be a matter of convenience if you know what it really means, not to suggest that you're somehow different or unique, that you're spiritual and someone else isn't, but to use it simply as a recognition that you are ultimately spirit. And in recognizing that, you also recognize that so is everyone else. So it's not a term to be used divisively, exclusively, to give you some sense of superiority, as if to say, I'm spiritual and you're not, and that makes me special or better or superior in some way. When you really know what it means to be spiritual, there's no superiority, no inferiority. Everyone is equal, simultaneously equal, and yet unique, because you realize that in essence we're all the same. Our differences are all superficial. So even to use this label to call oneself spiritual, if it's purely a recognition of all this, that who you are at the core of your being is spirit, that everyone at their core is spirit, that's fine. It can have its convenience. But if we use it in a way that we think, I'm spiritual and that makes me different than other people, superior to other people, if we're attached to that identity, attached to the lifestyle with all of its gimmicks, then this is just an ego trap. It's an illusion, another identification, another label, another box in which to confine yourself like a prisoner. So just to use the word just as a matter of convenience with no investment in it, while knowing that it's just a word, just a label, just a concept, that who you are is beyond even this word. Spirituality, which you could say is the coming to know yourself as spirit, is about going beyond all forms of identification, even beyond the label of spiritual. So to be spiritual in the sense of embodying your true nature is to drop even that word, even that identification, not to even identify as spiritual because of all of its conceptual connotations, to drop this idea of what it means to be spiritual and instead to simply be without any need to label it.
If you find this content valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.